Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're here to talk about the PlayStation VR2 versus the Oculus Quest 3. I've had the PlayStation VR2 here sitting behind me since launch day. Obviously, I've done a lot of reviews on this channel about the PlayStation VR2 in general and the games that have come out for it. And obviously on this channel, we're going to continue to do that. Same thing with the Quest 3. I've had the Quest 3. You guys have seen a ton of videos from me, and that's not going anywhere either. But I wanted to do this video to give you guys an idea of somebody who has both and what I think about both, what's better on one versus the other, what my future plans are, and what I would recommend you guys do depending on what situation you guys are in. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
So let's start off with the price of this thing and both of these. The Oculus Quest 3 sits at $499 for 128 gigabyte, and then the version of 512 gigabyte is at $649. Now on the PlayStation VR2, that costs $550, but of course you also need a PlayStation 5. That factors into it if you don't have a PlayStation 5 already, being that the Quest 3 is obviously an all-in-one headset where you can just play games right on it. It has everything inside that you need. So there is that to consider when you're comparing both of them. Obviously, if you already have a PlayStation 5, then that's not going to matter to you as much. But if you did it, then obviously that's something to worry about. So moving on to the comfort of this thing and starting off with the PlayStation VR2 here, you can see that this is a very similar design to the way that the old PlayStation VR one was, where you kind of just slip it on and then you just tighten the back and you're kind of ready to go and you're in VR just like that. And I find the PlayStation VR2 headset to be super comfortable right out of the box. No mods or anything like that, which is fantastic, and I have no issues with it. With the Quest 3 here, the default strap that it comes with, after an hour, it gets uncomfortable on my ears, and that seems to be a lot of people's things. Obviously, there's some people who find it comfortable, but the default strap, most of us don't like it, so we end up replacing it with a strap, whether it be the Bobo VR that people are using or the Elite strap and stuff. Regardless on which way you go, that's obviously going to add to the cost of whatever you buy this thing at, because I think a lot of people are not going to like the default strap. And then there's also the facial interface inside. The facial interface that it comes with is actually pretty good. It is comfortable and stuff like that, but it is made out of cloth. So when you're using it and stuff, that means that it's not gonna be as easy to clean if you share your headset and stuff. Now I got the facial interface that they sell separately, which is again an extra cost here, where you actually get the silicone material, which I think is much more comfortable. It feels nice on against my face, and obviously much easier to clean when you're sharing this headset around. So overall, once you actually have the Elite strap like I have or something similar to it on this headset, and you have the facial interface and stuff that you like dialed in, I think that they're both pretty comparable as far as comfort. I think once I have the Elite strap on the Quest now and that one, I find them just as comfortable. The difference is you're going to obviously have to spend extra money more than likely on the Quest to obviously get it to be more comfortable or to be on par in the PlayStation VR2, where the PlayStation VR2 is comfortable right out of the box for most people. Obviously, the next thing we're going to talk about is the nature of how these things work. Obviously, the PlayStation VR2 is a tethered experience that you're going to plug into your PlayStation 5 via cable. So obviously, you're going to not have unlimited room. You're going to obviously have to play where your PlayStation 5 is. Where the Quest 3 is obviously all about being an all-in-one headset. So what does that mean? Well, obviously that leans to a lot of different things. Not only can you play in the room that you're obviously in with the Quest 3, but you can, being careful, of course, with the lenses inside so you don't break them, you can take it outside, you can take it to a larger room. If your PlayStation 5 sits in a room that's not as big as your other room, you can still take that very easily, and you can play all these experiences anywhere you want to go. You can bring it to a friend's house really easily and show off VR. So that's an awesome experience, and that's why I love the Quest so much. Everything is kind of all in there, and it's really easy to pick up and play. If I wanted to play something right now, I could be in this Quest in literally 30 seconds. It's always on, ready to go. I just put it on my head. 10 seconds later, I'm in the game that I want to play, especially with the Quest 3 and things opening up faster and feeling a lot snappier with the new processor. On the PlayStation 5, obviously with it being a tethered experience, you're gonna have to turn your PlayStation 5 on, you're gonna have to plug in the cable, you're gonna have to go through that whole thing before you actually get in the game. So it definitely takes longer and a little bit more of like, hey, I want to play games right now. It's not like the Quest where I have sitting right here, or I'm like, you know what, I just want to check something real quick, boom, I'm in. No, if I'm gonna turn on the PlayStation VR2, it's because I'm gonna dedicate some time to play VR, and that's kind of the difference between the Quest and the PlayStation VR2 for me, is I'm gonna be dedicating time when I turn that thing on. However, there's obviously benefits to having a PlayStation 5 hooked up to a cable, because that means that you have the power of the PlayStation VR2. And obviously the PlayStation 5 that's it plugged into. So because you're hardwired, you get to use all that hardware that's in there. And the Quest 3 just came out. It is much more powerful than the Quest 2 is, over 2.5 times, more graphical power, and the processor in it is amazing, and it's the best you can get in one of these type of headsets. However, it still doesn't come close to what technically the PlayStation 5 can do. The problem is that most of the time we're getting a lot of ports from the Quest that are going to the PlayStation VR2, and they're not always on par of using the benefits of the PlayStation VR2 and the PlayStation 5 and taking advantage of all that graphical, power that it actually has. However, when games are made for it, like Gran Turismo, like Resident Evil, like Horizon Zero Dawn, you're going to get graphic fidelity that obviously is unmatched in the PlayStation VR2 compared to the Quest 3. However, the gap is now closing. I think now, before, that gap was a lot larger with the Quest 2, and I think a lot of people are going to be super happy with where mobile VR is actually going now with the Quest 3. Things are looking really, really good, and we're just at the starting gate of this thing. The games are now, surpassing that low. It's kind of like what I say when I think it's going to like low-end PCVR. I think that's kind of where Quest 3 is kind of hitting right now. Low-end graphics on PCVR, where the PlayStation 5 is obviously above that. It's kind of sitting somewhere between medium and high in that kind of comparison. So they both have their ideas of how things should work, but obviously it's going to depend on what you want to do when it comes to graphics. Do you care about the fact that the PlayStation 5 is tethered and you're going to have a cable all the time, but you get the higher graphic fidelity that it's using with the PlayStation 5? Or do you want the best of both worlds where, hey, the games aren't going to look exactly as good as the PlayStation VR2, but they're going to look, somewhere in that vein now with the new processor and stuff on the Quest 3, and you're not going to be tethered, and you're going to be able to go anywhere you want with it and use it anywhere and bring it to a friend's house or whatever, and all that kind of stuff that kind of exists on there. So then we got to talk about the lenses of this thing. Starting off with the Oculus Quest 3 here. This is using the new pancake lenses, and pancake lenses, a lot of people have said, are fantastic. The pancake lenses on here, they bring clarity, and their sweet spot is super large. You don't have to, when everyone turns on their PlayStation VR2, you have to kind of finagle and find that sweet spot before it gets dialed in for 30 seconds to a minute. None of that with the Quest 3. With those pancake lenses that are in here, you literally just put it on and you're ready to go right off the bat, and there's no issues with it at all. And not to mention the edge-to-edge clarity and just how good everything looks when it comes to that, which is obviously awesome. However, on the PlayStation VR2 over there, it's using the Fresnel lenses, and I really wish they didn't, but that's like the old school lenses that we were all using for a while, and those are obviously not as good. They have a lot more glare in them. They have a lot more God rays in them that the Quest 3 doesn't suffer from and all that kind of stuff. But it's not just about the lenses that are in front of it. It's also the display behind it as well that we got to compare with these two. The Quest 3 is using LCD technology still, and PlayStation VR 2 is using OLED panels. So you're going to get deeper blacks, so playing games like Resident Evil and stuff are going to look superb on the PlayStation VR 2, and you're not going to get that gray looking color. You're going to get the true blacks that you're not going to be able to get on a Quest 3. And you're obviously going to get more vibrant colors because that's what OLED technology lets you do. However, with all these caveats, as usual, even though you have an OLED on the PlayStation VR 2, which is superior to the LCD that's on the Quest, there is some backdraw to that with the OLED panels that they chose, which has a lot of mirror. And for those of you guys who don't know where mirror is, it's basically a film grain. So if you go into really dark scenes and stuff like that, go to a dark scene in Kayak VR, and you'll easily notice it when you're in the dark, and you have like this film grain filter all over the game and stuff like that, which some people it bothers more than others. For me, it doesn't bother me when I start playing a game, but if I stop and stare, I can definitely notice it, and there's none of that on the Quest 3. Especially nowhere near to the degree that the OLED panels are doing on the PlayStation VR 2. So, yes, you get better colors on the PlayStation VR 2. Yes, you get deeper blacks for horror games and stuff, which is awesome compared to the LCD on the Quest. But the Quest is still going to have those pancake lenses that are going to make everything so much clearer than they will look on the PlayStation VR 2, thanks to them using the Fresnel lenses on there, which isn't great. You're going to have less glare and less God rays and stuff like that. So, like I said, it's a hit or miss on which option you actually like the best. For me, I'll take the Quest 3 lenses with the larger sweet spot so I can get into VR faster and all that kind of stuff. And I'll deal with the LCD instead of the OLED panels over the PlayStation VR 2. Luckily for me, I don't have to choose. So for me, when I want to play horror games like Resident Evil, if I had the option of playing them on both, for some reason or another, I would obviously choose the PlayStation VR 2. Any dark horror games that are going to be dark most of the time, I'll choose the PlayStation VR 2 because it's going to look superior on there. Not even graphics-wise, but just even if they were on par graphics-wise, You know, obviously it's going to look better on those OLED panels, and the OLED panel gets a lot brighter as well by a long shot, which you'll notice as soon as you put that thing on, than the Quest 3 panel can do. But nothing beats these pancake lenses, guys, if you have not tried them yet. It's so clear, it makes everything look so much better in reading text and stuff, that I'll take those lenses and suffer some of the display stuff I just talked about on the PlayStation VR2. And I would have much rather had pancake lenses in the PlayStation VR2 and gotten LCD on PlayStation VR2 if they had to do that to cut costs, than the option that they went with, which is OLED and then Fresnel lenses. So then we got to talk about field of view. Field of view is like the amount of area that you see when you actually put this on. And the Quest 3 obviously got a huge improvement over the Quest 2, with the Quest 2 being about 90 degrees and this one now being about 107, 108. Obviously, it depends on your face and your glasses and what you're doing in there. I get about 107 to 108 degrees. And the PlayStation VR2 is 110 degrees that I get in there. So really, really close. I don't think this is going to sway you one way or the other. I think you're going to be so close together by 1 or 2 degrees that I don't think you're going to notice it very much. I think they're both really good, and I can't wait to see like field of view keep increasing on these headsets. But I think they're both really close and on part of each other, that I don't think it's going to matter too much as far as, you know, that goes to making a decision one way or the other. They're both really close to each other. One place where I think the PlayStation VR2 blows the Quest 3 away is the actual controllers here that I have here in front of me. I love these controllers. I love how they feel. I do love the Quest controllers as well. I don't have a problem with how these feel at all. I should probably grab the other side of it. I don't have a problem with these, the way that they feel at all. They both feel great in the hands. They're both really comfortable. However, the haptics on the PlayStation VR2 are second to none. These are amazing. You got the haptic feedback on the actual trigger when you shoot a gun. It feels awesome. You got the rumble in here and stuff like that. Even though they did improve the Quest 3 controllers over the Quest 2 to have better feedback and stuff, it's still nothing compared to the adaptive triggers that you have on this controller and the haptic feedback that you get on the controller itself. That's kind of sometimes when, depending on what game I'm playing and stuff like that, I may play a game on the PlayStation VR2 just because the controllers and the adaptive stuff is really cool compared to the Quest 3. So I kind of go back and forth with that, especially when it's a shooter. So these adaptive triggers, if they're done well in games and the devs actually take their time to take advantage of them, can really immerse yourself into the experience so much better. And I hope that one day we'll have adaptive triggers on the Quest controllers, like the PlayStation VR2. But yeah, the PlayStation VR2 controllers with the haptic stuff definitely blows away the Quest 3 controllers, in my opinion, as far as immersion and just fun to use. As far as being able to wear like glasses in here, both of my headsets already have prescription lenses. I've already talked about this a lot. I think prescription lenses for people who wear glasses and stuff is amazing to do in VR, to be able to see without having glasses or contacts on. But just know you can wear glasses. It's probably a little easier. Oh, it's definitely easier to wear glasses with the PlayStation VR2 because the Halo strap just lets you kind of pull it over your glasses. So it's a 1, 2, 3 kind of process. On the Quest 3, the facial interface has like a little thing on the side where you just pull it back and forward to get it to the position that you want. So once it's done, but it's a little bit more finicky than obviously the PlayStation VR2, where anytime you want to wear glasses or not wear glasses, it's just pulling it a little bit more over your head. But they both work glasses perfectly fine, at least with the glasses I wear. But I still recommend, just like I have on both of these, to get prescription inserts. They will literally change the game on how awesome it is to see in there without anything on, and for added comfort and not worrying about glasses and they're worrying about scratching your lenses or anything like that. It's just an awesome experience. Now, one of the things we got to talk about here is, of course, the game catalog on these things and exclusives, because that's obviously what may gear you towards one versus the other. The Quest 3 is always getting a ton of exclusives. Obviously, it being backed by Meta and stuff, they have a ton of money to get developers to build stuff for VR and stuff like that. Sometimes they come exclusive completely. Sometimes it's a timed exclusive. Whatever the case may be, obviously, Meta is going to probably lead in that department as far as exclusives games go. But it's going to be, you know, a little bit more not as graphically impressive, even though the Quest 3, like I said, is inching a lot closer to being as close to PlayStation VR. But it's not as powerful as the PlayStation VR2. So when you get exclusives on the PlayStation VR2, like Gran Turismo and Resident Evil, those games can never look as good as they do on that when they're made with using the power of the hardware as they would if they went on the Quest 3. So the exclusive stuff for me is really hard because I love all the Quest exclusives that we've gotten. I can't wait for Asgard's Wrath and stuff like that to play on there that you can't play anywhere else. But I also love the PlayStation VR2 exclusives that we've gotten so far. You know, we got Synapse that came out. We got, like I said, Gran Turismo, Resident Evil. We got Resident Evil 4 coming. So you're gonna have to take a look at which one is getting exclusives. The problem is that overall, in the next 3 years, I definitely see without a shadow of a doubt that the Quest 3 is going to have more exclusive content game-wise than the PlayStation VR2 is going to have. A lot of the PlayStation VR2 stuff will be games that went on the Quest that are either coming day and date or being ported over later. They may look better if the devs actually take the time to make them look better, which we already know is not always the case, as we've seen. But if they take the time, they're going to look better and they're going to perform better, which is great. But they're going to come later on when the exclusivity period is over, or you're going to have to deal with you're not going to get those exclusives that often that are specifically for the PlayStation VR2. I think Sony is probably going to release a couple more. I don't think they're done at all. People are worried about it. I can't imagine them not releasing like an Astro Bot on this thing, considering how popular the first one was, or at least porting over the original one. All that kind of stuff. I believe that stuff is coming, but they're not going to match up to the number of exclusives on the PlayStation VR2 as far as what Meta's going to have on their platform, because the money that Meta's going full force into VR, where PlayStation is obviously looking at this as more of an accessory to their PlayStation 5 ecosystem. However, I don't think the PlayStation 5 needs as many exclusives as Meta to survive. I think if devs actually use the hardware on the PlayStation 5, make their games look better than the Quest 2 and the Quest 3, and take advantage of the haptic feedback on the headset, which I almost forgot to mention, which rumbles, which when games do that well, works well, and then the controller haptic feedback and all that stuff, and they just take advantage of that stuff and make games look better, and we get a couple of exclusives or a few exclusives every year from Sony and stuff like that and their developers, and everything else is just games that are releasing day and date across all VR platforms, the PlayStation VR2 is going to succeed still regardless if we get at least a couple of exclusives per year and then a ton of great ports or great games that are across all the platforms. The problem is right now, a lot of the ports coming over are just not being done very well. And that's why a lot of people are getting mad. But I think if the developers take their time and make these games right on the PlayStation VR2, it's going to succeed without getting, they don't need 25 exclusives a year to be a great headset and worth your money. Even for me, as somebody who owns both of these, in my opinion. One of the things that I want to talk about that's a big deal for me, and this may not be a big deal for everyone, is just social applications. One of the big things that I love about VR is literally social. It's awesome to be able to be at home and go into apps like Big Screen and have 15 of your friends from other countries or other states or whatever the case may be, other friends on your friends list, and watch a movie together on a giant, movie-like experience, and watch sporting events and go to theaters and watch live concerts that Meta's doing, or going into social apps like Meta Horizons, where you go into these virtual worlds and go to comedy shows, just talk to each other, have a bunch of people playing mini games, and just all of this different stuff that social experiences kind of lend themselves out. And PlayStation VR2 has gotten nothing. They got nothing to watch movies. They got nothing to share those experiences with friends. None of that is there. Quest 3, as far as social stuff goes, blows them out of the water, and it's not even close. And that's why, for me, if I had to, I wouldn't want to do this, but if I had to choose one over the other, for me, I'm going to let you guys know now, I would definitely choose the Quest 3 because of the social experience and the movie watching experience, like I just mentioned. They don't have anything like that on the PlayStation VR2. You can't watch movies in PlayStation VR2. I love 3D movies, as I've talked about on this channel a lot. Can't do that on the PlayStation VR2, which is obviously a big downer for me. So the social apps aren't there. The movie watching apps aren't there. Watching content with friends is definitely not there. And I do that a lot. Like every time I turn on my Quest and I go in for the night, it's very rare that I don't at least hop into Big Screen for like 20 to 25 minutes and just have fun with people, talk to people, go into rooms, see what people are doing, see what people are watching, or go into Horizon Worlds and see what's going up on there and see what new games they may have added. Whatever your social app may be, I do that constantly, at least a few times a week. So for me, if you were like, hey, we got to take one of these away, Quest 3 or PlayStation VR2, one's gone and out the door, I'm taking the Quest 3 just because of the fact that the social stuff is so awesome to me that I can kind of go in there and play with people all around the world as I'm there with them and watch all these things. And the PlayStation VR2 doesn't seem to be going after any of that, unfortunately. So it's all just not there. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that you can use your Quest 3 for for PCVR. So if you want your Quest 3, and not only is it a great standalone headset, it's probably the best PCVR headset you can get for its price. So you can connect it via a link cable or through wireless, through virtual desktop or AirLink, and you can play the gigantic catalog that's on Steam VR or your Oculus Quest software on there and play a vast variety of exclusives that are on PC, or just get higher fidelity. That's why, yes, the PlayStation VR2 has better graphics than the Quest 3, but if you have a PC that has a powerful graphics card, now you got the best of both worlds. Now you got a Quest that's portable when you want to play social applications and games that are, in it right on the headset, or you can play it on your PC as well. The PlayStation VR2 is obviously just for PlayStation 5. There are some rumors out there that they're trying to get it to work on PCVR so you can use that headset as well. And from what I read today, there may be a possibility that that's already happening already, even though it's not fully out yet. But that seems to be getting closer for you to be able to use your PlayStation 5 on the PCVR. So this gap is rapidly closing. It seems they're both going to be on the same page. We'll see how that goes with that. But it's still going to be awesome that on the Quest I can actually play the exclusives that Oculus made back in the day, like Asgard's Wrath 1, like Lone Echo 1 and 2, on the Oculus software, that I don't know if they're going to get that stuff working on the PlayStation VR headset if you connect it to your PC. We'll see. But that's also an advantage that the Quest has, is being able to access all those games and kind of play them on there. And a lot of these games you buy once on your Quest, and you can also play them on PC. So there's some benefit to that as well. So guys, my final thoughts on all of this, as far as what you should do and what I would do. Like I mentioned before, if someone stuck something to me and they said, hey, you need to decide right now, one of these are leaving your home, I would choose the Quest. And I do that because more exclusives, pancake lenses, mixed reality, which we didn't even talk about, I'll say it here. Mixed reality, I forgot, because obviously PlayStation 5 doesn't have mixed reality at all. And I think mixed reality, like I've done in videos, even though we're just at the starting gate, is an awesome experience and really adding new elements to mixed reality and cool games and stuff that we're just getting to the surface to, which PlayStation 5 isn't going to be able to do or isn't doing. So that's awesome. And the pass-through obviously is much better on the Quest 3 than it is on the PlayStation 5. I wouldn't even consider that pass-through. It's not good. So you got the mixed reality, you got the pancake lenses, you got the exclusives, and you also got the social apps and the movie experience, that being the biggest thing. I use that all the time, and I would not want to get rid of that and not be able to go into social apps or movie experiences at all anymore. So I would sacrifice the PlayStation VR2 for me and my personal stuff that I like to do in VR, especially now with the Quest 3, with the graphics kind of closing up and not being as mobile VR-ish as they used to look, where it was like PS2 style graphics back on the Quest 1, and now we're kind of reaching like Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, like I said, kind of that level, a little bit around, a little bit around that. So the graphics are getting that much better. But if you were trying to decide what to do after everything I just said, and you're trying to decide which one to do, well, obviously if you have a PlayStation 5 already and you want to stay in that ecosystem and you love the exclusives that they have, go ahead and get a PlayStation VR2 headset. It's going to be fantastic, especially if it's your first VR. You're going to have an awesome time, and a lot of games are being ported over from the Quest over to it, so you'll have access to a lot of the games, even if it's not every single one, and you'll have access to Sony exclusives as they roll out. If you don't have a PlayStation 5, that's obviously going to be a harder sell. If you just care about VR and you don't care about the platform of Sony in general for regular 2D flat games, then I would say get a Quest 3. I wouldn't say go buy a PlayStation 5 for $500 and then also go buy a PlayStation VR2 for $550 just to get in the door and then buy the games. I think at that point I would get a Quest 3 and tell you guys, hey, get that. The experience is going to be, good and better than in certain ways than the PlayStation VR2. Even if it does have a little bit better graphics and games, and you're going to miss out on some of those Sony exclusives. You'll get the Meta exclusives. You'll get access to PCVR if you ever go down that route, and you get access to everything I just said. So that's kind of where I come down on it. For me, obviously, I'm keeping both. None of them are going anywhere. You guys are going to see them on this channel. And for me, I love my Quest for mixed reality experiences. I love my Quest for the portability, being able to bring this to friends and families' houses and kind of showcase VR so I can get more and more people into VR, which I have done. But I love my PlayStation VR too. I love the haptics in it. I love the fact that it has better graphics, and I love the fact that it's easier than, you deal with a lot less than PCVR. Obviously, PCVR, the graphics are going to look even better than the PlayStation 5 most of the time because it's dealing with your PC. If you have a PC that's powerful enough to handle it. But PC comes with its own set of problems, a lot of quirkiness sometimes. Things don't run all the time. The same thing that we deal with PC all the time, where sometimes you just want to come home and plug something in and get great graphics and not have to worry about anything else. And that's exactly what you get with the PlayStation 5. Plug in and you're ready to go within like a minute or two. So for me, both of them are going to stick around for those reasons. I can't wait to see what exclusive Sony comes out with next, and I can't wait to see what Meta does. And, I love VR, obviously, no surprise on this channel. So I'll get access to as many headsets as I can, wherever the exclusives are, wherever the games are, whatever the best hardware is, that's where I'm going to be. I'm not going to be a fanboy to either one. I'm going to have them all if I can. I even have a big screen Beyond coming into it, which I can't wait to review for you guys and see that for the first time, seeing how small this headset is, and I've never seen it in person. And that's going to be my exclusive PCVR headset. So anytime I want to play something on PCVR, it's going to be big screen. Anytime I want to play social apps and exclusives and all that kind of stuff and ease of access, mixed reality, boom, I got the Quest 3. Anytime I want to play, you know, a fantastic horror game with deep blacks or a PlayStation 5 exclusive on the PlayStation VR2, I got the PlayStation VR2. So that's it, guys. If you guys have any questions about anything you guys have seen me talk about here today, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.